We can all do this one time or two times, but it's a very different thing to do it on a consistent basis. When I first started this research, the idea was that we did these things when we were sufficiently committed, when we had enough self-control to follow through. Then we'd form these strong intentions and we'd act on them over time. But I'd noticed that it didn't really play out that way in my life. I've often made decisions that I didn't follow through with, even though I was initially very committed to those decisions, and I have a pretty good amount of willpower. Um, so what we did is we did a large review of the research to test whether people's decision making was important all the way through behavior change process, not just from the beginning, where my cousin started on Facebook declaring she's going to change, but also 2, 3 months later. And what we found was really surprising. Decision making, our intentions, our thoughts, our commitment, they're very important when we start to change. That's what determines whether we do behaviors once in a while. Continuing over time took something very different. And we didn't know what it was to start off with. It was like once you start performing a behavior, it just sort of continues on its own. It's like action begets action. And what we decided was this is kind of like driving your car, right? So every once in a while, you do pay attention and make decisions, but most of the time when you're driving, it's sort of in the background. You're thinking about something other than what you're doing. Your actual responses don't take much thought and decision. They're certainly not taking your willpower.
It's a counterintuitive idea. Conscious willpower is not the driving force behind sustained behavior change. That idea is powerfully illustrated by an experiment conducted in Germany that asked two simple questions. Are people who stick to their resolutions the people who see lots of temptations but have the willpower to resist them? Or are they the kind of people who set up their lives so they don't even notice the temptations?
They found that, contrary to all of our expectations, that people who are high achievers, who we think of as having good willpower, good self-control, they didn't actually experience many temptations. They weren't conflicted by having lots of desires that were inappropriate and things they didn't want to do. That was the people who were low in self-control, the people who weren't that successful at achieving their goals in life.
In other words, this is not a case of people who have, cake in the refrigerator and are very good at resisting opening the refrigerator to eat the cake. These are just people who don't have cake in the refrigerator.
Exactly. Or if they do, they don't see it. They have coded that as, okay, that's my kid's cake. I don't eat that. I eat the fruit. And I like the fruit.